Hi, I'm Eileen, and this is my sister Janice. And we unfortunately live in a very haunted house. It is sitting on ley lines, and if you're not familiar with what ley lines are, those are energy lines that are naturally occurring. They're part of the earth. They are a scientific reality. But these energy lines happen to cross in our house, which creates a few problems. Specifically, we have very high EMF readings, which is electromagnetic frequencies, and they are random. They will show up and might be a 0.3, and then 15 minutes later, they might be 22.
So on an EMF meter.
On an EMF meter, correct. EMF in general can give you headaches. It carries a strong energy that the body does not like to resonate with. It's not a pleasant experience. I'm dealing with them. But worse than that is that because these ley lines are here, things can travel along it. Spirits, ghosts, and other entities can use that. And so our house is kind of like a railroad station along the way, and things come through and some pop in and stay, and then they leave. When we first moved in, she was experiencing a lot of these things, and I was a non-believer, absolute non-believer, and I just kept going, yeah, right, whatever, until some things happened. And one specific thing that happened to me that was absolutely life-changing was I was standing in front of a mirror. I had a big chow, the big dog, 80-pound dog, was next to me, and he started backing up and growling, and I really didn't think too much of it. It's like, whatever, still my whatever, until something grabbed me from behind, and I'm standing in front of the mirror, and I can see that there is no one there, but I can feel the hands on my shoulders and at my throat, and it was pushing me down towards the ground. When something like that happens, you can't deny that this exists anymore. It is a life-changing event. What experiences have you had?
I've had anything from cabinets, opening, closing, opening, closing, opening, closing, to being scratched. I have scratch marks on my arm when I wake up in the morning. I've been punched in the ribs and had my foot stomped on and medicine knocked out of my hand.
What kind of things have you seen in the
Oh my
house?
gosh. So I was working, doing computer work on my bed, and I got up, set it down, and went around the side of my bed and saw this creature, like a gargoyle looking thing, in the corner of the room. And I just backed out of the room. And when I went back in, I couldn't see it any longer, but I got the EMF meters out and a REM pod and checked the room and had astronomically high numbers for the REM pod, for the EMF meter, and the REM pod would go off. So we know it was still there.
Yeah, I just couldn't see it anymore.
And the energy in my room got so intense that I had to relocate from my bedroom out to the front room because it was just overwhelming. It would wake me up. There would be black shadows at the end of my bed. I had broken my foot. One of the black things grabbed it and squeezed it, just giving searing pain. I have been paralyzed in bed because of one of the shadow people things that would come up behind me, and for some reason I just can't even move. But all of these things stopped when we saw Dad, and he was able to close the portals that were on the property. And gosh, ever since then we've been able to live a more of a normal life.
Live.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Without being afraid. So I can't thank Dad enough for what he can do. And we appreciate it greatly.
We've had paranormal teams come out and do videotapes. They've gotten EVP, which is the electronic voice phenomenon, where you can hear the voices. You can hear them talking. One in particular was rather terrifying when we asked what it wanted, and its answer was "get the gun." That's
Because we
Gotcha.
are gun owners.
right,
And I was pointing to the cabinet.
where the gun was.
That's the cabinet that just kept opening and closing, opening and closing.
Right.
So they've done the EMFs, EVPs, they've done the motion sensors, which recorded out in our garage movement when no one was there.
Also, the same night, they had a camera set up in a bedroom that we use as an office. And again, nobody was in there. There were no lights outside that would have been shining in, but the cameras kept coming on and indicating that there was motion within that room as well. And in that room is where the ley lines cross. We had one gentleman holding an EMF detector up against the wall, specifically where those cross. And he was getting a reading of 23.3, I think it was. I'd have to look at the picture again, which is a very, very high EMF reading. You shouldn't really ever have more than a 0.3 anywhere. But all of a sudden he yelped and he dropped the equipment and cradled his arm and said that he had been burned or bit or something. When we looked at the pictures that others in the room were taking, it is very obvious. You can see these red or orangish lines coming off of it as though he had been electrocuted.
Yeah, you could see it on the wall and you could see the energy on his arm.
And it blew me away when that happened.
I was conducting an interview with Jackie Barrett, who's a voodooist, and while conducting this interview, the printer just went on and started spitting out the questions we were asking. We've had other strange things happen, like, what's your mop story?
I was home alone. She had gone on vacation, and I'd gotten up from my room, went into the bathroom, went out to an area that we're using as a workout room, which is on the outside of the house. Did my workout, and then thought that I would come back in and wash the floors since there wouldn't be any traffic in there. So I went out to the garage to get the mop, and the mop wasn't there. Very frustrated and rather angry, frankly. I went back into the house, went into the bathroom, and there's my mop blocking the entrance into the bathroom. Now, I had already been in there 40 minutes earlier, and the mop wasn't there. And so somehow it had gotten from the garage into the bathroom while I was in the only pathway that it could have gotten there. If like my sister had been there and had walked in, she would have had to pass me. So how it could have gotten from the garage to the bathroom.
I've had rings disappear off of my hand while I was sleeping and then reappear in another location weeks later. Several things have disappeared and reappeared.
Your handicap placard disappeared for a period of time. We had
That was almost 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that was the EMF meter from the city.
We had someone from the city's utility come out and check the electrical system throughout the house, thinking that maybe all of this again was there had to be a scientific explanation. So we had them come out and look at everything, and he left behind a different EMF meter. And when I returned it to him, he said, well, where's the cover? Where's the case for it? And I said, I don't have a case for it. And he swore up and down, was rather upset with me that I didn't bring the case back. And he told me where he left it. He said that he had left it on the table by the front door. And I said, no, it is not there. Fast forward a couple months later, again, I was home alone and washing the floors. So I had moved this table, I had taken it and completely cleaned it, and had just put it back in its normal spot. So there was nothing on it. It had just been freshly cleaned. I left the room and came back, and there's something black sitting on the table. I walk over, and it was the case to the EMF detector.
How much time had elapsed since it
About
had
6
disappeared?
months. It was about 6 months.
Yeah. So crazy things, they just disappear and come back later, or they don't come back at all.
Yes. One night, I woke up and both of my dogs reacted to the sound of a plastic bottle crunching. And I reached out to my bedstand where I keep my bottle of water, and there's nothing there. My bottle of water just disappeared out of the blue. Another day I was in my room. See, not everything that comes through is negative. Not everything is bad. I was laying on my bed, had my computer sitting on a table on my lap. My dog was next to me, and then my other dog was by the window. And my dog's tail starts going back and forth like he's really happy. And I thought, oh, he wants me to throw the ball. But I realized he's looking at the bedroom door, which is open. And he's looking at someone, and tail's wagging. And I look over at my other dog, who is very old. She's almost completely blind and deaf. And yet her face is looking at the door as well. And her ears are forward, rapt attention, and her tail is wagging. My hair stands up. I watched their heads swivel as something came towards me, stood by my shoulder, both of them watching. And then they both watched it go back to the door, back and forth. It went 3 times before it left. And then they both put their heads back down and went to sleep. That night, I woke up to somebody stroking the side of my face like this. It was very gentle, loving. But if you wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you don't get a positive reception, and I sent it away. So not everything that comes through is bad. Just
But
the majority.
it was the bad things that
Yeah, that Dat was able to help with.
we've had a channeler come out, and she channeled a gangbanger who was possibly the person who was looking for the gun. And
One of
What-
the things he said was, nobody noticed me in life, but you sure as bleep are noticing me now.
yes, and I don't know, other than being attacked several times, and you've been attacked, I'm just so happy that has stopped. Thank you, Dad.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. He's a miracle worker to me. Absolutely.